Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be doing a tutorial on this really cute candy corn bracelet. This is part 2 in my Halloween themed bracelet series, and in part 1 I made this ghost bracelet, so if you want to go see, if you want to make this, it'll be linked in the description. So yeah, thank you also for 300 subscribers. That's crazy, but yeah, let's get on into the video. Okay, so to cut the string for your bracelet, well, first off, you will need 4 colors: orange, black, yellow, white. And you can do any background you want. I think black just looks the best. But yeah, that's the colors you will need. And to cut your strings, you will need to cut 1 white string that is a full wingspan's length. So let me do that real fast. When you have that white string cut, what you will do is you will fold it in half. So it'll be half a wingspan, but you will have technically 2 strings. Okay, now for your orange string, you will need another full wingspan's length. So when you have that orange string cut, you will fold it in half. And you will just set it down with the white. Now for your yellow string, you will do the same exact thing that you've done for the white and the orange. Cut a full wingspan's length with a few inches. Once you have cut that yellow string, you will fold it in half to have like a half a wingspan's length. You can just set that down. Now you want to take your black string and you will cut 3 strings a full wingspan's length, just like your orange, yellow, and white. And once I cut those, I will show you what to do with your last black string. Once you have your 3 black strings cut and folded in half, you can just take, I have 2 of them together here, you can just take them with the last string and measure it, because make sure they're folded in half as well. Well, all my strings are going away now. Make sure they're folded in half as well, so it'll basically just be half of a wingspan's length, and you can, well, cut it off. Well, and there you go. You have your strings cut. So I'll show you what to do in the next clip. Okay, so I went ahead and made 1 candy corn. It did get a little wonky, but that's to be expected because the pattern is basically forward, backward, and backward, forward knots. So yeah. Okay, so to set up your strings, you should have black and yellow. So it should go black, yellow, black, yellow, black, orange, black, orange, black, white, black, white, black. So that's how you set up your strings. Since it is a 1-2 pattern and it's an uneven amount of strings, we will only take 1 string out. We will start with the right hand string. So take your 2 strings furthest to the left and do a forward backward knot. Now you will take your next 2 strings and do a forward backward knot. Take your next 2 and do a forward backward knot. Okay, take your next 2 and do a forward backward knot. It should be black and orange. Take your next 2 do a forward, backward knot. It should be black and white. Take your next two, do a forward, backward knot. It should be black and white. Still black knots. Now onto the second row, we should take out the string on the left. Take your first two strings and do a backward forward knot. Put those to the side, take your next two and do a backward forward knot. Now take your next two and do a backward forward knot. Take the next two, backward forward. Take the next two, backward forward. And take your next, very last two and do a backward forward knot. You have done the second row, so let's go on to the third. Leave your right hand string out this time and take your first two. You will do a forward, backward knot. Now, take your next two strings and do a backward forward knot with the yellow onto the black. So it should just be one yellow knot in this whole row. Now take your next two and you will do a forward, backward knot. Now you will take your very next two and do a forward, backward knot. It's kind of repetitive. And for these last two knots, they will be forward, backward. Now you can kind of push your row up and you should have one little yellow knot. Now you'll take your left hand string out and put it to the side. Take your first two and do a forward, backward knot with the yellow string. Now take your next two and do the same thing, a forward, backward knot. My string is kind of popping through here, so I'll just pull that. Take your next two and do a forward, backward knot, this time with orange. Now that's all of the color knots in this row. There you go. Now take your next two strings, do a backward forward knot with the black string. Now take your next two and do a backward forward knot. And your next two, your very last two, backward, forward. And that is the fourth row finished. So, since we left out the left hand string last time, we will leave out the right hand string and take our first two strings and do a forward, backward knot. It is black this time. Now take your next two strings and do a backward forward knot with the yellow. Now you will take your next two strings, which should be orange and black, and do a backward forward knot. Take your next two, backward forward. And here's where it gets a little bit different. We'll take our next two and do a backward knot with the white string. No backward forward, just a backward knot. Then take our next two and do a forward knot with the black string. Now we can go in, push our row up, make sure everything's even. And since we left out our right hand string last time, we'll leave out left hand string. And we will start on the sixth row. Now we will do a forward, backward knot with the yellow onto the black. Now take your next two and do a forward backward knot. Now you will take your next two and do a forward backward knot. Now take your next two, and it's a white and orange together, and do a backward forward knot with the white. Make sure it's white, not orange. Now you can take your next two strings and do a backward forward knot with the white onto the black. And then take your last two and do a backward forward knot, or any knot since they're the same color. Doesn't really matter. If you're feeling spicy, whatever knot you want. Okay, now we will leave out our right hand string and we'll start our 7th row. So take your first two strings and do a forward backward knot. Now we will take our next two strings and we will do a backward forward knot. Now we will take our next two strings and do a backward forward knot. Now take the next two, backward forward knot. And then on your last two knots, you will do forward backward knots. They are with the white string. Okay, now we can push our strings up and take out our left hand string, and we will take our first two strings and do a forward backward knot. Now take our next two and do a forward backward knot. Now take your next two strings and do a forward backward knot. Now we take our next two, which should be orange and white, and do a backward forward knot with the white string. Now take your next two strings and do backward forward. And your last two, backward forward, or any knot because they are the same color. Now put the right hand string to the side, take your first two strings and do a forward backward knot. Now take your next two strings and do a backward forward knot. Now take your very next two and do a backward forward knot. And your next two, backward forward. Now we will take our next two strings and do a forward knot with the white. And then take your next two, do a backward knot with the black. Now we will go into the 10th row, so take out our left hand string and do a forward backward knot. Now take your next two and do a forward backward knot. Take the next two strings and do a forward backward knot. And with the rest of the strings, so take your next two, you will do backward forward knots. So no white knots, it's just all going to be black knots. So backward forward here. And a backward forward here. Okay, that is the 10th row. Now you will leave out the right hand string and you will do, wait 1 second, you will do a forward backward knot. Take your next 2 strings and you will do a backward forward knot. This is your last like colored knot. The rest will all be black. So forward, backward. Forward, backward for your next 2 strings. Forward, backward with the next 2, and then forward, backward with the last 2 strings as well. Okay, this is our last row now, so take out your left hand string and you will do a backward forward knot. These are all black knots. Backward forward. Next 2 is a backward forward. Backward forward with these 2 strings. Backward forward. And on the last 2 strings, it will be a backward forward knot. So, if you need to repeat this, you can repeat this video as many times as you want to make the bracelet, of course. And yeah, I will see you whenever I make the outro. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that this tutorial was helpful, and I will see you in part 3 of this series. So see you next week. Bye.